Hey, what's going on? It's Ryan Stewman, President and CEO of Break Free Academy and your favorite sales blogger over at hardcorecloser.com. I'm also known as one of the best objection handlers on the planet. If you've ever seen my funnel hacking live from 2016 skit on YouTube, which you can just search that on here, you'll see me live handling objections, and you'll notice that I've got a process to being able to do this. I've started things like closer cards. You can go over to closercards.com and you can grab a stack of objection handling flashcards, but there's a method to my madness when it comes to handling objections. If you'll notice when you watch any of my objection handling workshops, I always say your name, what you sell, and what your objection is. And so the reason why is, first of all, I need to know what they sell in order to handle their objection. And B, I want them to give me some time in my head, because that's the one thing is most salespeople, they just spout stuff off. Somebody gives you an objection, you just say the first thing that comes to your brain. And that is a terrible thing, because oftentimes the first thing that comes to our brain is the worst thing that comes to our brain and can cost us sales. And so what I do is instead, now pay attention, this is very important. What I do instead is I ask questions. If someone says, Ryan, it's just too expensive for me, I'll say, well, what do you think is expensive about it? Right? It's simple questions like that that make all the difference in the world. If someone says, Ryan, I need to talk to my spouse about it, I'll say, well, what exactly do you plan on speaking to your spouse about? Right? If they say, Ryan, I need to ask my wife for permission, I'll say, well, do you think your wife would leave you if you made a decision without her? Or I might say something like, well, does your wife make decisions without you, or do you guys always mutually include each other on every decision? You see, questions lead to confessions. And if we're trying to handle objections, then we need them to confess what the real holdup is, because here's what I know about objections. Objections are simply stall tactics to keep people from making a decision, because decisions basically are based on intent, right? If you make a decision, then you had intentions. Intentions come with consequences. Think about this for a second. We're here in the streets, right? If I accidentally was driving through the street and I dropped my phone in my truck and I reached down to get my phone and I ran up on the curb and I ran over these people over here, I'm probably not going to go to jail because it was an accident. However, if that gentleman right there owed me $100 and I saw him and I swerved up on the curb and hit him, I'm probably going to catch a murder or manslaughter charge and do life in prison. The difference was all my intention. See, the consequence for him was the same. The consequences for me were different because I made a decision based by intention as opposed to an accident. Most people are scared of decisions because guess what? Their whole entire life, they've made decisions that were bad. They've had to deal with bad consequences because of those bad decisions, and they're scared to make those decisions because they don't want to suffer consequences, because most people continue to make stupid-ass decisions and suffer major setback consequences, right? You gotta love it when people honk in the background to fuck up your recording. I always love that. That's the greatest part about shooting on the streets. Now back to the story here. So now that you understand that objections are nothing more than stall tactics to keep people from making a decision, you owe it to your prospect to get them to make a decision. And here's why. The longer they go without making a decision, the longer they're out there searching for whatever it is that they're looking for, and the longer they go without making a decision, the more time they've wasted. You can always get another car. You can always find more love. You can always get another job. You can always get another employee. You can always buy another product. You can always buy another service. You can always get more money. The only thing that we don't get back on this planet is time. And so when you look at it this way, by getting them to make a decision, you're saving them time, the only resource that they cannot ever get more of. And even if they make a decision that's mediocre, because obviously you're not going to sell something that's a bad decision, but even if they make a mediocre decision that's not the best decision in the world for them, at least they're not wasting time anymore trying to figure out what decision they should make. One of my favorite sayings is, it's that you make a decision, not what decision you make, that matters, right? So it's the fact that you can actually make a decisive decision and be an action taker will take you all the difference. So when people give you objections, the number one key is to respond with a question, because if you have to agree with the client. If you start arguing, if you start going into ego trip, if you start trying to bully close them, the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to put their guard up, and the next thing you know, they're not going to buy from you at all. You have to go ahead and agree with them. Oh yeah, I understand your lack of intent to go ahead and make the decision. I understand your objection, but let me ask you a question. What about this? And then you have to take them a little bit further. And oftentimes the answer that they give you to the question is going to be complete bullshit. So you got to learn to dig a little bit deeper. Say things like, why? And then what? And what happens next? and continue to ask them questions to dig deeper and deeper until you finally hit that one pain point, that aha, that makes the light bulb go off in their head, and they go, you know what, this is the decision that I need to make. Now listen, if you're trying to get better at handling objections, go over to closercards.com, buy a stack of flashcards over there from us for $9.99. You can use them every single day for 30 days. It'll change the way that you do sales. It'll change the way that you operate on the sales floors. It'll make you a lean, mean closing machine. Also, make sure that you check out other videos here on this channel. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time.